There is something most people never admit to themselves. They don't feel exhausted because life is hard. They feel exhausted because they are constantly at war with themselves. Every day there is a voice in your mind. It questions you, it doubts you, it reminds you of your flaws. It tells you that you are not doing enough, not moving fast enough, not becoming enough. And over time, you begin to believe it. You begin to see yourself through that voice. And without realizing it, you stop trusting yourself, you stop respecting yourself, you stop loving yourself. But here is the truth that changes everything. That voice is not you. It is a pattern, a habit, a conditioned way of thinking that you have repeated for so long that it now feels like truth, but it is not truth. And if it can be learned, it can be unlearned. Long before modern psychology tried to explain the human mind, Stoic thinkers like Marcus Aurelius and Seneca were already studying it. Not in theory, but in real life. They faced pressure, responsibility, loss, uncertainty. And yet, they found something most people never do: inner stability, not because their lives were easy, but because their minds were disciplined. They understood something powerful. Self-care is not about comfort, it is about alignment. It is about training your mind to work with you instead of against you. And when you do that, you become unstoppable. Because what you're about to hear is not just motivation, it is a blueprint, a way to rebuild your relationship with yourself from the inside out. Most people wake up already losing, not because of what happens around them, but because of what happens within them. Before they even get out of bed, the thoughts begin. I didn't do enough yesterday, I'm already behind, today is going to be stressful. And just like that, the day hasn't even started. But the mind is already heavy, already tense, already overwhelmed. This is how most people live, not reacting to reality, but reacting to thoughts about reality. And those thoughts shape everything: how you feel, how you act, how you see yourself. If you want to change your life, you don't start with the world, you start with your mind. So if you're ready to stop being your own obstacle, subscribe to this channel to get more of this. 1. Start your day with intention. There is a powerful moment every single day, a moment most people waste without realizing it, the moment you wake up. It feels small, insignificant, but it determines everything that follows, because in that moment, your mind is most impressionable. It is quiet, open, unformed, and whatever enters it first sets the tone for the entire day. Most people don't control this moment. They grab their phone, scroll mindlessly, consume noise, and without realizing it, they hand control of their mind to the outside world. This is where the day begins to slip, because instead of choosing their state, they inherit it from social media, from notifications, from external chaos. But the Stoics approached this moment differently. They prepared their mind before the world could influence it. They reminded themselves of reality, that people may be difficult, that things may not go as planned, that challenges will arise. Not to feel negative, but to feel ready. Because when you expect difficulty, you are not shocked by it. And when you are not shocked, you remain calm. This is intention. Not pretending the day will be perfect, but deciding who you will be, no matter what happens. So before you reach for your phone, pause, take a breath, and ask yourself one simple question. What kind of person will I be today? Disciplined, calm, focused, resilient? Choose one. Hold on to it. Carry it with you. Because your identity is not something you discover, it is something you decide. And every morning, you are given the opportunity to decide again. At first, this may feel small, almost too simple, but do not underestimate it. Because small shifts repeated daily create massive transformation over time. The difference between a chaotic mind and a calm one often begins in the first 5 minutes of the day. And when you learn to control those 5 minutes, you begin to control everything that follows. 2. Question your inner voice. There is a voice inside your mind that speaks more than anyone else in your life. It is always there, when you wake up, when you work, when you are alone, and most of the time, you don't even notice it, because it feels like you. But listen closely, and you will begin to hear its tone. Critical, demanding, never satisfied. No matter what you achieve, it tells you it's not enough. No matter how far you've come, it reminds you of how far you still have to go. This voice is the source of most self-doubt, most insecurity, most overthinking, and yet, most people never question it. They accept it as truth. But here is the reality. Not every thought you have is true. Some are distorted, some are exaggerated, some are simply wrong. The Stoics understood this deeply. They did not blindly trust their thoughts. They examined them, they challenged them, they asked, "Is this helping me or harming me?" This is where self-respect begins. Not in positive thinking, but in honest thinking. The next time your mind tells you you're not good enough, pause. Don't react immediately. Ask yourself, is this fact or is this habit? Because most of the time it is habit, a pattern you've repeated so often that it now feels real. But feelings are not facts, and thoughts are not commands. You do not have to obey everything your mind says. You can question it, you can reject it, you can replace it. This is how you begin to take control. Not by silencing the voice completely, but by changing your relationship with it. Instead of being controlled by it, you observe it. Instead of believing it instantly, you evaluate it. And slowly, that voice begins to lose its power. It becomes quieter, less dominant, less convincing. And in its place, something new begins to grow. Clarity, confidence, self-trust. Because once you stop attacking yourself internally, you free up energy that was once used for doubt, now used for growth. This is one of the most powerful forms of self-care. Not comfort, not escape, but awareness. Because the way you speak to yourself becomes the way you experience your life. 3. Keep promises to yourself. There is a reason many people struggle with confidence, and it has nothing to do with talent, nothing to do with intelligence, nothing to do with opportunity. It has everything to do with trust. Not trust in others, but trust in themselves. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself you would do something? Wake up early, start that project, stay consistent, be disciplined, and then you didn't follow through. At first, it seems small, almost harmless. It doesn't matter. I'll do it tomorrow. It's not a big deal. But your mind is always watching. It notices every broken promise, and slowly, without you realizing it, it starts to lose respect for your words. Because every time you say you will do something, and don't, you teach yourself something dangerous, that your word does not matter, and when your word loses value, your confidence disappears with it. Because confidence is not built by thinking positively. It is built by proving to yourself that you can rely on yourself. The Stoics understood this deeply. They didn't focus on grand gestures. They focused on consistency, on doing what they said they would do, even when it was inconvenient, even when it was difficult, even when no one was watching. Because they knew something most people overlook. Self-respect is earned internally, not given externally. Every time you follow through on a commitment, no matter how small, you send a message to yourself. I can trust myself, and that message builds, day by day, action by action, until eventually, you no longer question your ability. You no longer doubt your discipline. You no longer hesitate when it's time to act, because you've proven repeatedly that when you say something, you mean it. This is where real confidence comes from, not from external validation, but from internal consistency. So start small. Don't overwhelm yourself with impossible expectations. Choose something simple. Wake up at a specific time. Complete one task fully. Stick to one habit and commit to it, not for others, but for yourself, because every promise you keep strengthens your foundation, and every promise you break weakens it. Over time, this becomes your identity. You either become someone who follows through, or someone who constantly delays, someone who acts, or someone who hesitates. And that identity shapes everything, your results, your mindset, your future. So ask yourself honestly, can I trust myself? If the answer is no, don't feel discouraged, feel aware, because awareness is where change begins. And from this moment forward, you can start rebuilding that trust. One promise at a time, one action at a time, until the relationship you have with yourself becomes your greatest strength. 4. Choose discipline over comfort. There is a quiet lie that most people believe. It sounds harmless, even comforting. Take it easy. You deserve a break. Do what feels good. And while those words are not always wrong, they become dangerous when they guide your life. Because what feels good in the moment is not always what's good for you in the long run. Comfort is easy. It requires no effort, no resistance, no growth. And that is exactly why it is so attractive. After a long day, you choose distraction. When something feels hard, you avoid it. When discipline is required, you delay it, and slowly, comfort becomes your default. But here is what most people don't realize. Comfort has a cost. It weakens your discipline, it lowers your standards, it keeps you stuck in the same patterns. The Stoics saw this clearly. They did not chase comfort. They trained themselves to handle discomfort, not to suffer unnecessarily, but to become stronger. Because when you can do what is difficult, you gain control over your life. Discipline is not punishment. It is self-respect in action. It is choosing what is right, even when it is hard, even when you don't feel like it, even when no one is watching. And every time you make that choice, you strengthen something inside you. Your will, your resilience, your ability to act despite resistance. This is what makes you unstoppable, not motivation, not temporary inspiration, but the ability to move forward, even when it's uncomfortable. At first, this will feel difficult. Your mind will resist. It will look for excuses, for shortcuts, for reasons to delay. That's normal, because your mind is used to comfort. But every time you push through, you rewire that pattern. You teach yourself that discomfort is not something to avoid, but something to use. A signal that you are growing, that you are stepping beyond your limits, that you are becoming stronger. Over time, discipline becomes easier, not because it requires less effort, but because it becomes part of who you are. You no longer negotiate with yourself. You no longer wait for motivation. You act consistently, reliably, with purpose. And that changes everything. Because when your actions become aligned with your goals, results follow naturally. So the next time you are faced with a choice, comfort or discipline, pause. And remember this: the life you want is built through the choices you avoid making. Choose discipline, again and again, until it becomes your identity. And when it does, you will no longer feel stuck. You will feel in control. Most people will choose comfort. They will avoid difficulty. They will delay growth. They will stay exactly where they are. But not you. If you're still here, it means you are willing to do what most people won't. To choose discipline, to build self-respect, to become stronger mentally and emotionally. So subscribe. And commit to becoming someone who doesn't just feel motivated, but someone who is disciplined, focused, and unstoppable. 5. Embrace solitude for clarity. There is something most people are quietly afraid of, not failure, not rejection, but silence, because silence removes distraction, and when distraction disappears, you are left with yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, your patterns. And for many people, that is uncomfortable, so they avoid it. They fill every moment with noise, music in their ears, videos on their screens, endless scrolling, anything to avoid being alone with their own mind. But here is the truth. If you cannot sit with yourself, you cannot understand yourself. And if you cannot understand yourself, you cannot improve yourself. The Stoics did not run from solitude, they embraced it, because they knew something powerful. Clarity is found in stillness, not in noise, not in distraction, not in constant stimulation, but in quiet reflection. Think about it. When was the last time you sat alone, without your phone, without music, without any form of distraction, and simply observed your thoughts, not judging them, not reacting to them, just watching? For most people, that moment rarely happens. And because of that, their mind remains cluttered, unprocessed, filled with thoughts that have never been examined. This is why overthinking feels overwhelming. Not because you think too much, but because you never pause to understand what you're thinking. Solitude gives you that space. It slows everything down. It allows you to see clearly, to notice patterns, to recognize what is helping you and what is hurting you. At first, this may feel uncomfortable. Your mind will wander. It will bring up thoughts you've been avoiding. It will try to pull you back into distraction. That's normal, because you are breaking a habit of constant stimulation. But if you stay with it, something begins to change. The noise fades. The thoughts become clearer. You begin to understand yourself on a deeper level. And with that understanding, you gain control, because you cannot control what you do not see. And solitude allows you to see everything. This is where real self-awareness begins, not in conversation with others, but in silence with yourself. So make time for it, even if it's just a few minutes a day. Sit, breathe, observe. No distractions, no escape, just you and your mind, because the more comfortable you become with yourself, the less you will depend on external noise, and the stronger your mind will become. 6. Protect your mental environment. Your mind is not isolated. It is shaped constantly by what you allow into it. The conversations you listen to, the content you consume, the people you surround yourself with, all of it leaves an impression. And those impressions become thoughts, and those thoughts become your reality. Most people underestimate this. They believe they are in control, while constantly exposing themselves to negativity. Endless bad news, toxic conversations, content that drains their energy, and then they wonder why their mind feels heavy, why they feel anxious, why they overthink. But the answer is simple. You cannot feed your mind chaos and expect it to produce calm. The Stoics were extremely careful about this. They understood that protecting the mind is just as important as training it, because even the strongest mind can be weakened by constant negativity. So they chose wisely who they listened to, what they focused on, what they allowed to influence their thinking. And you must do the same. Not everything deserves your attention. Not every conversation deserves your energy. Not every piece of content deserves your time. You have to be selective, intentional, protective, because your attention is powerful. Whatever you give it to grows. If you constantly focus on negativity, negativity grows in your mind. If you constantly focus on fear, fear becomes your default state. But if you focus on growth, on discipline, on clarity, your mind begins to reflect that. This is not about avoiding reality, it is about choosing your influence. There is a difference. You can stay informed without being overwhelmed. You can be aware without being consumed. The key is balance and awareness. Notice how certain things affect you. Certain people, certain environments, certain habits. Do they leave you feeling stronger or weaker, clearer or more confused, calm or more anxious? Pay attention to that. Because those feelings are signals. They are telling you what belongs in your life and what doesn't. And once you start listening to those signals, you begin to take control of your environment. You remove what drains you, you strengthen what supports you, and slowly, your mind becomes lighter, clearer, more focused, because now you are no longer feeding it chaos. You are feeding it clarity. This is one of the most powerful forms of self-care, not what you add, but what you remove. And the more intentional you become, the more peaceful your mind will feel. 7. Stay consistent, not perfect. There is a trap that stops most people from growing, and it looks like ambition, it sounds like high standards. But in reality, it is perfectionism. You tell yourself, I'll start when everything is right, when I feel ready, when I know I can do it perfectly. But that moment never comes, because perfection is not a starting point, it is an illusion, and while you wait for it, time moves forward, opportunities pass, progress is delayed. This is how people stay stuck for years, not because they lack ability, but because they refuse to begin imperfectly. The Stoics saw this differently. They didn't aim for perfection, they aimed for progress. Daily progress, small improvements, consistent action, because they understood something powerful. It is not what you do once, it is what you do repeatedly that defines you. You don't become disciplined in one day. You become disciplined by showing up daily. Even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it, even when your effort feels small. Consistency builds identity. Every time you act, you cast a vote for the type of person you are becoming. Miss a day, it doesn't matter. Miss repeatedly, it becomes a pattern. So the goal is not perfection, the goal is showing up again and again without overthinking, without waiting for the perfect moment, because the perfect moment is the one you're in right now. At first, progress will feel slow. You may not see results immediately. You may question whether it's working. That's normal, because growth is not always visible in the beginning, but if you stay consistent, something begins to shift. Your habits become automatic. Your discipline becomes natural. Your confidence becomes steady, and one day, you look back and realize how far you've come. Not because of one big action, but because of many small ones, repeated over time. So let go of perfection, stop waiting, start moving, even if it's imperfect, even if it's small, because consistency is what makes you unstoppable. If you've made it this far, you're not just watching, you're learning, you're thinking differently, and that already sets you apart. So don't stop here, subscribe to this channel, because most people never reach this level of awareness, but you did, and this is just the beginning. 8. Master your reactions. Life is unpredictable. People will test you. Situations will challenge you. Unexpected things will happen. You cannot control all of it. But you can control one thing: your response. This is where most people lose power. They react instantly. Emotion takes over. Words are spoken without thought. Actions are taken without awareness. And later, regret follows. The Stoics trained themselves differently. They created space, a pause between what happens and how they respond. Because in that space, they found control. When something triggers you, pause. Don't react immediately. Observe what you're feeling. Is it anger, fear, frustration? Acknowledge it, but don't let it control you, because emotions are temporary, but actions have lasting consequences. This pause changes everything. It allows logic to catch up with emotion. It allows you to choose your response, instead of being controlled by your reaction. Over time, this becomes a habit. You stop reacting impulsively. You start responding intentionally. And that changes how people see you. More importantly, it changes how you see yourself. You feel in control, grounded, stable, no longer at the mercy of every emotion, but guided by awareness. And that is real strength. 9. Let go of the past. There are moments in your life that your mind refuses to release. Mistakes you made, things you said, opportunities you missed, they replay over and over again, as if thinking about them long enough will somehow change them. But it won't. The past is fixed, unchangeable, and yet so many people live there, reliving what they cannot control, carrying guilt, carrying regret, carrying weight that no longer serves them. The Stoics believed in reflection, but not attachment. They learned from the past, and then they moved forward. Because they understood something simple. Holding on to the past does not improve it. It only damages your present. Every moment you spend stuck in regret is a moment you lose in reality, and reality is where your power is. So take the lesson. What did you learn? What would you do differently? Take that knowledge and let the rest go. Not because it doesn't matter, but because it no longer serves you. You cannot move forward while holding on to what's behind you. Letting go is not forgetting. It is choosing peace over attachment. And when you do that, your mind becomes lighter, freer, less burdened, because you are no longer carrying what you cannot change. 10. Live in alignment with yourself. At the core of everything, there is one question. Are you living in alignment with who you truly are? Most people aren't. They live based on expectations, on pressure, on what others think they should be, and because of that, they feel disconnected, lost, uncertain. But when you live in alignment, everything changes. You act according to your values, not your fears, not external validation, not temporary emotions. You know what matters to you, and you act on it consistently. This is what creates inner peace, because there is no conflict within you, no contradiction between what you believe and how you live. The Stoics valued this above everything. Integrity, living truthfully, acting with purpose, because when your actions align with your values, you stop second-guessing yourself. You stop overthinking every decision. You stop seeking approval because you already know you are doing what is right, and that clarity is powerful. It removes doubt, it removes confusion, it removes internal conflict, and in its place you find direction, confidence, strength, because now you are not reacting to life randomly, you are living intentionally, and that is what makes you unstoppable. Now you have a choice. You can go back to old habits, to overthinking, to working against yourself, or you can start applying what you've learned, one habit at a time, one decision at a time, one day at a time. Because becoming unstoppable is not something that happens overnight. It is built through discipline, through awareness, through consistency. And if you're ready to keep building, subscribe to this channel to get more of this, because this is not just content, it is a path to clarity, a path to strength, a path to mastering yourself. And once you begin, there is no going back.